Mic'd up.
Well, welcome everybody to the Angry Yankee Coast to Coast post-game show after the sweep in Toronto. I am here by myself today because Adam is at a wedding. No, he's not getting married. He said one wife is enough, and I would have to agree with him. However, we are here, and for those of you stuck in traffic over the course of this holiday weekend, do you have it worse than the Yankees do right now? Holy cow, that was a mess. You go into Toronto knowing that they're a bunch of soft-hitting guys, don't strike out, don't have a lot of power, but they're a pain in the ass to pitch to. And what happens? They are a pain in the ass to pitch to, they don't strike out, and they hit home runs against your pitching. Unbelievable that they got swept. As we've been saying, Adam and I, for more than a year, there are a lot of holes on this team. There are a lot of problems on this team. The question is, how are they going to address them? When are they going to address them? And can they even address them? There's three things, well, now four because of the Schmidt potential injury, but there's three things that they absolutely have to address. And one of them is the lineup. And we saw it tonight. Goldschmidt had a great game yesterday, had 2 hits, started to look good, even against right-handed hitters. So what did they do? They sat him down. And guess whose turn it is to sit tomorrow because he had 4 hits today and is red hot? Jason Dominguez. So let's talk about Aaron Boone and his attitude and his tone. He is still continuing to be Kevin Bacon in Animal House during the riot scene at the end. All is well. Stay calm as he gets flattened by the crowd that's looting the food king, as they say. I am sick and tired of hearing that all is well. There are too many holes. The three major things that I was going to address, or that Adam and I always want to address, are lineup construction, including the lineup roulette, which has to stop, the infield problem, both defensively and offensively, and the bullpen, which we've said has been burned out and is not that good, even though they've been effective most of this season. But now starting pitching is going to make the list as well. But we're going to start with the one that's really easy because we don't know when the Yanks are going to make any moves or if they're going to make any moves and if there's really anybody available. So what can they do to be more consistent hitting-wise, which they didn't have a bad weekend or a bad week in Toronto hitting-wise, but they still have a lot of problems on the team. First of all, Goldschmidt and Rice need to be a platoon, straight up platoon. I know I just said Goldschmidt had 2 hits and then sat today against the right-hander. They need to be a straight up platoon. And quite frankly, if Goldschmidt starts hitting righties again, you're going to have to start thinking about Rice as a catcher and Wells sitting. But for the time being, let's just talk about those 2 guys being a platoon. It'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow because it's not quite a night game, not quite a day game. It's a 3:40 start against the Mets. So Wells caught today, and Rice played first base. The way the Yankees do things, it's not likely that Wells is going to catch again tomorrow, but we'll see what happens in the lineup tomorrow. It would not be a bad thing tomorrow if Rice is the catcher and Goldschmidt's back at first base. And it wouldn't be a bad thing tomorrow if Wells is the catcher and Goldschmidt's back at first base against the right-handed pitcher. But we'll see what happens. The outfield. I'm done. I know he hit another homer today, but I'm sick and tired of seeing Grisham out there. I don't want to see him. His time has passed. He is now very streaky, which is good and bad, obviously, because that's what streaky is. But he is so inconsistent right now that it's just bad. He's either all or nothing. And that's not what you want from him. And don't tell me his center field defense is good. I'm sorry. But the luster is off him offensively, and his defense, despite Michael Kay and David Cohn and others talking about how great it is, as well as other Yankee announcers like Paul O'Neill, it's not. First of all, his nonchalant attitude cost him a base yesterday, and it was a close game at the time because he didn't rush the ball back into second base and allowed the guys to tag up or go from first to second in a close game. In 2020, he was an above-average fielder, 8 outs above average. In 2021, he was 5 outs above average. And in 2022, he was one of the best center fielders in baseball at 17 outs above average. In 2023, which was his last year in San Diego, he was 8 runs above average. You know what he was last year as a Yankee? 2 runs above average. And you know what he is this year as a Yankee? 0 runs above average with an average arm. He is not that good of a fielder that it justifies him playing every day. Do you want to sit Dominguez at the end of games and put somebody else in for better defense? I'm not so sure that's the right thing to do anymore, but if that's what you want to do, I don't want to see Grisham till the 8th or ninth inning. Just like if there's a platoon of Goldschmidt and Rice, Goldschmidt should be in there at the end of games because he's an outstanding first baseman as far as scoops go. Again, as far as range goes, he's not the big range type first baseman that you might see from other teams, but the man can scoop like nobody's business. So I don't want to see Grisham anymore. So what does that mean? Dominguez and Bellinger need to be in the lineup every single game. No lineup roulette with them. Bellinger in center, Dominguez in left, Judge in right. Yes, Judge gets to do some DHing sometimes. And quite frankly, the Yankees should handle Dominguez the way that they handled Paul O'Neill when he first came over from Cincinnati. Against the tough left-handed pitchers, sit Dominguez. Who are the tough left-handed pitchers? Skubal would be one, and maybe Crochet would be another. There are others that are out there that are tough left-handers. If they faced a Chris Sale, I would say that he should sit down. But let him play already. His batting average is shooting up against from 160 to 200 in his recent stretch against left-handed pitching. And let the man play. I mean, he is a heart and soul type of player right now for the Yankees. He is hitting, he is running the bases, he's playing defense, he's got a decent arm. His outs above average is -1, which is not much worse than Grisham. It's 1 minus because Grisham's at a 0. And Bellinger, he's having no problems against lefties, which they thought he might have, but he's actually got reverse splits this year, and he's the only guy on the team that actually will poke a ball to the left field and change his approach with 2 strikes to cut back on his strikeouts. And Dominguez's plate discipline is outstanding, both left-handed and right-handed. His right-handed swing, he's just out of balance, and that little sweepy thing that he does, it's got to be fixable. But then again, you know my issues with regard to Volpe. I think he should be easily fixable just by watching videotape. Lock him in a room the way some parents used to lock their kids into a closet with a pack of cigarettes and make them smoke the whole pack until they got sick of it and never smoked again. Volpe should be forced to watch his at-bats where his ass is in the third base dugout until he can't take it anymore and he's willing to switch. Why he can't be switched around the way that they worked with Rice, where Rice opened up his stance so that he's no longer stepping in the bucket because he's forced to step into the ball, and it's made a huge difference for Rice. Why they can't do that with Volpe, I don't know. But Bellinger and Dominguez need to be playing every day, and Grisham needs to be the odd man out here. Matter of fact, I would try and deal Grisham to a team that needs an outfielder, even if it means getting a low-level, high-upside prospect for him, because he's not going to be on the team next year no matter what happens, because you know Jones is going to be here. Maybe the Yankees make a play for Tucker. And if the Yankees are desperate for an outfielder for defensive purposes, hey, guess what? Everson Pereira is an excellent defender. He's back from his shoulder surgery. He could be your 4th outfielder for defense if you want, and he could play center field and left field as well. But I think Grisham, his time is past. Plus, Pereira is a righty, so if you really want to rest Dominguez against tough left-handers, Pereira as a right-handed hitter is your guy. But either way, Bellinger and Dominguez need to be playing every day. Catcher. Everybody now is clamoring, Wells is terrible, Wells is this, Wells is that, Wells is the other thing. Guess what, guys? His defense is among the best in baseball. You know, the Yankee catchers don't throw out a lot of runners. Nobody throws out a lot of runners, but a lot of guys don't run. Of course, you have Max Fried picking guys off, so it all looks good as far as caught stealings by the Yankees. But is Wells the guy? The Yankees need to make the decision. You need to shit or get off the pot at this point. You can't just dick around with this. Either make Rice a catcher, which I don't think you should because he's not that good defensively. I actually think he's the best trade chip they have. And leave Wells in there. His defense is outstanding. His framing is 2nd or 3rd best in baseball all season long. And is his hitting taking a downturn? The question is, has his hitting taken a downturn? I don't know that it has. Quite frankly, he had an OPS in 2024 of 103. In 2022, when he first came up, he had that 0 for streak, and it was at 97. This year, he's at 94. His bat has not translated from the minors to the majors like they would want it to do. He can't stay off the high fastball, but he is what he is, and his stats are pretty much in line with what they've been from the get-go. He's a 210 to 220 hitting catcher with 20 to 25 home run power. Maybe you get lucky in a couple of seasons. It becomes a 25 to 35 home run power. Who knows? but the underpinnings of his at-bats as far as is he dropping down and getting worse? No, he's really not. He just is not that good of a hitter, but he's a defensive catcher. The problem is if you have a defensive catcher, you can't have a hole at second base, and you can't have a hole at shortstop as far as batting goes, and you can't have a hole anywhere else in your lineup and still expect to have consistent at-bats, especially at the rate that people are striking out for the Yankees. Call Cal Raleigh, just so you know, and we all know Cal Raleigh right now leading the world in home runs. Up until this season, was a 220 hitting catcher with 25 to 30 home run power. His OPS had never been over 110 in each of his full seasons since he came up to the majors. In 2025, obviously, it's a new ball game for him. What happened? I don't know. Did his ass get bigger? Tell Wells to let his ass get bigger. I don't know what's happening, but Cal Raleigh went from a 220 hitter and he's hitting 275 this year. Maybe the Yankees get lucky. Of course, Raleigh is a switch hitter, so he gets to bat right-handed and left-handed. But maybe the Yankees get lucky, and there is something they can do with regard to Wells's offense. It is clear, though, that the Yankees minor leaguers that come up do not get better offensively when they get to the major leagues. They do not get better when they get to the major leagues. They have not translated. When is the last time the Yankees had a minor leaguer whose offense translated? Aaron Judge? Is he the last guy that translated? I mean, clearly, these guys that have left the Yankees have turned into decent hitters, whether it's even Rob Refschneider or some of these other guys that they've given up over time have turned into decent hitters. But really, no Yankee minor league hitter has turned out to be much of anything for an extended period of time. Ramirez down in Miami right now is having a great year as a rookie, but we'll see what happens on the long term. But then again, he's not on the Yankee roster for him to take a step backwards. So what do they need to do? They need to decide if Rice is a catcher or if Wells is their guy. If one of them is going to be the catcher, the other can be traded. That's the piece that they can move if they decide to do anything. Would I like them to have a right-handed platoon or a right-handed catcher as the backup instead of Escara? Sure, but Escara is a backup catcher. It's not the most important position on the team, and certainly he's a better offensive player than they thought he was going to be after his 10 years in the minors, and he's a very good defensive catcher as well. So as a backup catcher, he's a good guy. I say because Rice can play first base now. He has better underlying metrics and is hitting the ball better than Wells. I think it's time to deal Rice, but that's for another story. What can they do? What do they need? And how can they get what they need? But the big thing for me is Bellinger and Dominguez need to play every day. And they need to get those guys in the lineup and stop this lineup roulette. It's just got to stop. The other problem they have is what to do about Stanton. Up, he's down, he strikes out, he doesn't. He finally hit a homer in this series. Obviously, he's not going anywhere. He's got 3 more years at $19 per that the Yankees are paying him, $22 for salary tax purposes in Major League Baseball. There's nothing they could do about Stanton. Obviously, I would prefer that he not be there, but really, what else is out there? I don't know what's out there. Would they go out there and get a guy like Josh Naylor next year who's a free agent or somebody like that? I don't know. But if you bring in a Kyle Tucker next year or even a Jones to play the outfield, you've got to figure out what's going on. As a matter of fact, next year wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if they go get Tucker and they go with an outfield of Tucker, Dominguez, and Judge with Bellinger at first base. I don't care about that. Would be a bad idea, but that's for the next season. Right now with Stanton, you know what? Treat it like it's the playoffs. A lot of off days in the playoffs. You play 2 games, you have a day off. You play 2 games, you have a day off. You play a game, day off. If it's a 7-game series, you have another day off, another game, and then the game 7. Play Stanton on that type of rotation. And if you want to mix it up a little bit so that he sits a little bit more against right-handed pitchers, that's fine. But don't roll him out there every day. I think sitting him today was the right thing to do. Although, again, yesterday he hit a home run, so of course you had to sit today. I mean, it's like the Yankees say, oh, you had hits today, let's sit you down. Volpe finally had a good game a couple of days ago. They sat him down. So Volpe, 155 runners left on base. Yes, he had 2 RBIs today. The second one was lucky. His ass was in the third base dugout, and he had a ground out with the infield back. At least he made contact. That's a good thing to do. This is what I would do with the current roster structure. If they don't make any deals, this is the lineups as I see them needing to be. Against a right-handed pitcher, Bellinger leads off. Move Dominguez as a left-handed hitter into the 2 slot in front of Judge. He's going to see more fastballs. He's going to see more strikes. He's got great plate discipline, and he's a 300 hitter now as a left-handed hitter. Put him in the 2 hole. Don't put him in the leadoff. Too much pressure for him, I think. Judge bats third. Rice plays first base. Stanton is your DH 2 out of every 3 games. Jazz is at second. Volpe's at short. Wells is a catcher. And then what I would do is I would bench DJ LeMahieu. He's not hitting. He's not providing any defensive metrics that you want. I don't really like the idea of playing Peraza every day, but at least if Peraza's playing every day, you get defense out of him. Again, today he showed 3 strikeouts. The real answer for the Yankees is either a trade, which I'll talk about in a little bit, or just say, you know what? I know he's not hitting at AAA. He was hitting at AA. And yes, the history of Yankee players coming up from the minors and performing, other than Dominguez, who did when he came up really quickly 3 years ago before he got hurt, is Lombard Jr. You know what? Just bring him up. Put him at third base. Actually, I'd like to see him play shortstop, but put him at third base and move Jazz to his best position, which is second base. So the lineup against righties would be Bellinger, Dominguez, Judge, Rice, Stanton, Jazz, Volpe, Wells, and Peraza. And the days that you want to sit Stanton against the righty, you can move Judge to the DH, or you can move Rice to the DH and put Goldschmidt in the lineup, or you could put Grisham in the lineup against the right-hander as well. Against lefties, tougher lineup to make for the Yankees because, quite frankly, again, this is where Dominguez has to really step up. You have Goldie leading off, Bellinger second, Judge third. Stanton against lefties is in the cleanup slot. Jazz is in the 5 hole. Volpe bats 6th against lefties. Dominguez bats 7th. Wells bats 8th. And then again, third base or second base, depending on whether or not you want to bring up Lombard to be the third baseman, Peraza, and DJ. But that's how the lineup is constructed right now. I don't think that there's really much wiggle room. I don't see Grisham starting very frequently. I don't want him starting very frequently. And quite frankly, the fact that these guys get amused about the way he plays defense in center field, 1, he's not that good. And 2, I think it's cocky. And at some point, like it did yesterday when the guy went from first to second on him, I won't say it's lackadaisical because he's getting under the ball and he's just catching the ball in a way that's lackadaisical looking. It appears the teams are starting to see that, are going to take advantage of it. So that's how I foresee the lineup needing to be going forward. No real lineup roulette. None of this rotation stuff, except for maybe with Stanton. Absolutely need to have Dominguez and Bellinger in there every day. They give you quality at bats, even right-handed. Dominguez gives you a quality at bat, even though he's not making as much contact. I don't care about anything else, but the lineup needs to be more consistent. Yes, they had a decent series offensively against Toronto, but, it's not working. So that's how I foresee the lineup. The other thing that's a problem, and I'll talk about this and then probably call it a day, and Adam and I, or I'll come back this weekend, and we'll talk a little bit more about the pitching staff because it's now really in flux depending on what's going on with Schmidt, so I'm going to hold off on that. What can the Yankees do about the infield? It is a problem defensively. It is a problem offensively. Okay? Their defense, infield defense, aside from Goldschmidt, is basically average to below average. All right? Let's start with Jazz at third base. Jazz at third base in 2024 was +8. Fantastic for a guy who never played there. But so far in 2025, he's actually a -4 outs above average. That's not good. And we've moved him away from his best position, which is second base. With the Marlins in 2021, he was at 6 outs above average. 22, he was 3 outs above average. 23, he was average. And then he came over to the Yankees. But 23, he spent most of the time in center field, so he didn't get much time. But his offense plays even further up as a second baseman. So he needs to be playing second base for the Yankees, not third base for the Yankees. And the reason for that is DJ LeMahieu is -1 outs above average. Peraza is an excellent plus defender, but I don't really think he's the answer because he's had a decent shot this year. DJ is a -1 outs above average defense, and he's getting significantly worse. In 2021, he was +2 when he came to the Yankees. 2022 and 2023 were basically messes of a season, as was 24. And 25, he's showing himself to be a negative defender, and he's not contributing anything offensively to this team. Sorry, you can't have a 560 OPS and be an everyday player, or even a 600 OPS and be an everyday player. I think it's time for the Yankees to really consider bringing up Lombard, sending Peraza back down, putting Lombard in the lineup every day until they make a trade, potentially for a third baseman, which I'll talk about. DJ can be cut loose if it works out with whoever comes in. He's only got one more year left at $15 million. The Yanks are going to have to release him and eat the contract. That's the bottom line there. Shortstop. I am a big defender of Volpe's defense in the sense that he makes the routine plays almost 100% of the time. Well, that's changed this year, as showed by the 80-mile-an-hour bloop liner that got past him yesterday. Volpe's defense is going backwards. Backwards. His Gold Glove year, which is very funny, he was only +1 outs above average as a defender. 2024, last year, he was better. He was +14. This year, he's -1 outs above average. So he's backwards. He's not helping the team. The Yankees need to make a decision on him. At this point, there really is no replacement in the system for the Yankees until Lombard Jr. and potentially Arias are ready to come up and be on the team and play. So there's really nothing they can do except live with Volpe, and they pretty much have made their bed and they're going to lie in it. However, with a career on-base percentage of .292 and averaging a strikeout a game as a punch-and-Judy hitter, trying to have launch angle when he shouldn't be doing that, it's awful. 155 runners left on base. It's terrible. Right now, his splits are .224 average, .304 on base, and .403 slugging. .707 is major league average at best. He's not providing anything to this team. How can they not fix this guy? Swing. Even if he can pick up his defense to be slightly above average, if they can fix his swing, get him to hit .260. Don't worry about him hitting 25 home runs. And never mind the fact he can't steal bases anymore. He is stealing bases at barely a 60% rate, and he's had to stop running. I don't know what happened there. Can anybody explain what happened there? Oh, Michael K says, they figured out his little jump lead thing. No, they didn't figure out his jump lead thing. Something's going on. He's turning and looking when he steals. He's looking at the catcher. Watch Dominguez. He stole a base today. He stole a base yesterday. He stole 13 bases, since the middle of May. You're stealing. Just go. If it's a hit and run, you can look. But the Yanks don't hit and run, which is another issue with Boone and the Yankees' metrics, MIT engineered geniuses. But you stealing, you just run. You watch, and then you try and slide away from the tag. I don't want to see this jump lead garbage that Volpe's doing. It does not work. It does not work. So Volpe, you're stuck with him. We're stuck with him. He's going to be the shortstop, at least for this season, but the Yankees need to make a real decision on him because there are players that are out there, like a Bo Bichette, who, yes, is he the ideal shortstop? No. Lombard might be a shortstop, and Bichette could play third base, but Bichette is a .270 hitter. He's a .330, .340 on-base percentage guy. He's a .400, .450 slugging guy, and he plays above average defense, not to mention his baseball IQ is through the roof. What have we seen this week, and what have we seen for several weeks with regard to Volpe, especially on the defensive side? His baseball IQ is way to go. I mean, he came up, he looked like a baseball player. He was ready to go. He knew what he wanted to do, and he did the right thing. Did that World Series play just totally screw him up when he threw the ball to third base? That he had to repeat it and then defend it this week? Come on, Volpe, give me a break. You're really starting to kill us here. So what's out there for the Yankees? And when or if are they going to pull the trigger on making a trade? Are there any third basemen out there for the Yankees to pick up even a rental, so they can move Jazz to second and get DJ and Peraza out of the lineup. Well, there's one big man out there, and we don't know if the team is going to sell. They have a tendency not to deal at all. They don't buy and they don't sell. Excuse me. And that would be the Arizona Diamondbacks. Eugenio Suarez is 33 years old. He's in a contract year. He strikes out a ton, streaky as hell. He's an above average, slightly a defender, although he's -1 right now in 2025. He's been a slightly above average defender throughout his career. Maybe at 33 he's not, but he's a rental. Great offensive year in 2025, even with his ridiculously high strikeout rate. I'm not a big guy that likes high strikeout rates, hence why I said that that's not acceptable for Volpe, not really acceptable for Jazz either, and it's not going to be acceptable for Dominguez much longer as well. I would rather have guys like Bellinger who put the ball in play, and as we saw with the Blue Jays, guys who put the ball in play. But Suarez is a free agent after this season. His OPS plus every year, even in his off years in Cincinnati, where it was a bandbox and he wasn't a big home run hitter, if you could figure that out. Arizona is a big home run park because of the weather and the heat, but he's a guy that's available and he's in his walk year. Arizona is not an easy team to deal with. They don't like to make trades to bring in guys, and they don't like to make trades and sell guys off. Perhaps this year is the year they do it. They're sort of teetering on the edge with a lot of teams to pass at a record that's below 500 right now. Right now, obviously, they got the Dodgers, the Padres, and the Giants ahead of them in their own division. You've got teams, even though they're in the tank as well, the Mets, the Braves are coming on, and you've got all those teams in the Central all above 500 again. Milwaukee and the Cubs, and St. Louis, another team that's on the border of the wild card race as well. So, and I'm not going to say anything about Pittsburgh and their 7-game winning streak because it's not really going to happen. The question is, has Arizona played a lot of games against Colorado compared to the rest of the division? And no, they have not actually. So maybe that's one of the things they have going in their favor. But Suarez is a guy the Yankees could look at. What is it going to take? Well, they're going to lose Zach Gallen at the end of this season. They're going to lose Josh Naylor at the end of this season. They're going to lose Suarez at the end of this season. They're never going to deal Ketel Marte, which would be the guy that would be perfect for the Yankees. Just plug him in at second base and leave Jazz at third base for that reason, because he's one of the best, if not the best, second baseman in baseball. But they signed him to a long-term contract, and all the things that went on this past week when the fan made some comments about his mother, which, you know, it's one thing to say something about somebody's mother and make a mother joke or, you know, your mom is so fat type joke. But what they did with regard to talking about his dead mother was not appropriate. And the guy that did it should be kicked out of the stadiums for an extended period of time. Who else is out there? Well, Luis Rinfino was a guy I tried to push for last year before he got hurt. Quite frankly, the Angels are usually in a seller's position, but they never do either. And with regard to Nifo, I can't even say his name, which hopefully if he did come to the Yankees, I'd learn how to pronounce it. He's been playing mostly second base this year, but he also offensively has taken a huge step backwards. It was a wrist injury that required surgery in August, and clearly it's impacted his hitting. He has not gone back to being the 300 hitter that he was before he got hurt. So I'm not a really big fan of trading for him because I don't want to rent him and then put ourselves in the position of having a average to slightly below average fielder, even if it's at second base or third base, that also is not contributing offensively. That defeats the purpose of anything that they have. He's a similar fielder to DJ, and right now his offense is much too much DJ-like. And he's a rental, so why give up something for that? His year is being awful. He was batting 300 with a 347 on base and a 417 slugging with 24 stolen bases before he went on the IL and had the wrist injury. He got hurt in July and then tried to play through it, and then finally shut it down in August, and ended up having wrist surgery. He's not worth the risk. Alex Bregman. I don't think he's a fit for the Yankees because he's a dead pull hitter, but I also don't think he's a fit for the Yankees because, one, I don't think the Red Sox are going to sell. I also don't think that the Red Sox were going to sell him to the Yankees, and he could potentially be a rental. And at $40 million a year, I think it's an overpay for a team like the Yankees, and he's not worth that price. There's our old friend Miguel Andujar, but he's got an oblique injury, and he really hasn't played much third base. But quite frankly, he's been a 300 hitter with a pretty good on base and good slugging with the A's. But again, Been there, done that. Don't really want to bring in a guy like Miguel Andujar, especially coming off an oblique injury and just starting his rehab. The other guy on the A's that's possible is Luis Arias. He has not really been the same player that he was with Milwaukee. He's more of a utility guy. He would be an outstanding backup infielder for the Yankees to have because he can put the bat on the ball. He could play all sorts of positions on the infield, second, short, and third, not embarrass himself, slightly above average defender. He's a slightly below average or average offensive player. So he would be an ideal utility guy, and he's not that expensive. What about Ryan McMahon? Ryan McMahon. Everybody's yelling about Ryan McMahon. Well, guess what? He makes $16 million next year and in 27, and he makes $12 million this year, and he is a below average third baseman. He's actually not a bad second baseman. However, his OPS has been below 100 every year when you adjust his OPS plus, has been below 100 for every year when you adjust it for the ballpark. What does that mean? He is a Colorado hitter. He will not hit outside of Colorado. So there's not much out there for the Yankees at third base unless they make a play for Suarez. Right now, I don't want to see DJ out there, and really Peraza's not showing himself to do it. Amazingly, the Yankees are missing Oswaldo Cabrera, who will be, hopefully, their utility guy next year, because he is the type of guy that Luis Renifo is. Renifo is. See, I still can't say it. He's the type of guy that Renifo is because he can play second, short, and third as well. So he's your utility guy next year, which means Peraza is going to be gone, and DJ should be cut. What are the other internal options? Vivas. Somebody can explain to me how he's a low strikeout rate, very low strikeout rate in the minors for a year and a half, comes up to the majors and looks like he's swinging at every pitch like he wants to hit a home run. Don't want him. Don't need him. I don't think he's a bad piece. If somebody wants to give him a chance, a team like a Miami or a Colorado or one of the low rent teams that don't want to spend the money and are going to sell their fans on the fact that this guy's a quadruple, a very good AAA player, which means quadruple A player, that would be fine. Saw enough of Luis Rojas, don't want him on the team. Andrew Velasquez was with the Yankees, left the Yankees, great defender, can't hit an infant's weight, so we're not going to even look at him. There's a guy named Jake Goatwell that's in the minor leagues. He's older. He's 27, 28 years old. He's a quadruple A type player as well, which brings me back to Lombard Jr. I think the Yankees should just pull the cord, send Peraza down, put Lombard Jr. in the lineup at third base every day, move Jazz to second, put DJ on the bench. Tough left-handed pitcher comes in and you want to sit a Jazz against a tough lefty, that's where DJ goes into the game. DJ seems like the type of guy that might actually be good to have around, take Lombard under his wing. He is a very professional baseball player. He is a very high IQ baseball player. He just is at the end of his career. So I would think that that's the choice that the Yankees have to have. They don't usually push their minor leaguers. They pushed Dominguez, and he was really good when they pushed him up because he only had a few games at AAA. He had 109 games at AA and then 9 games at AAA, and the Yankees then brought him up the first time that they brought him up. Well, Lombard's had more games than that at AAA, less games than that at AA. No, he's not really hitting it at AAA right now. But even with his low batting average in the low twos, in the 220 range, his on-base percentage is 340, and he has 14 stolen bases. So he's still controlling the plate, and that's something that should translate to the major leagues. So Lombard's the choice. Then again, everybody's going to jump up and down. What about Arenado? Well, he makes $16 million this year, 16 and 26, 16 and 27. He's a Deadpool right-handed hitter, was a former gold and platinum glove third baseman, and right now, he's not. 23, he was a minus outs above average. 24, he was a 0, and this year he's a +1. And offensively, he's only been barely average, literally 100 OPS plus this season. In 2023, 101 and 24, and 95 and 25. He's a dead pull hitter. That does not work for righties in Yankee Stadium. And then, of course, people have been, IKF's name has come up, and quite frankly, I'd like to say about IKF, been there, done that. He's a utility guy on a winning team, on a bad team, Pittsburgh. He plays every day. So that's what I foresee for the Yankees as far as the options. I think the only thing they could do, and why not do it right now and see if Lombard can do it for the month of July before the trade deadline. July 31st is the trade deadline. You've got a hole to fill. You've got a guy in the minors that deserves a chance. Maybe he can do it. Maybe he won't. Tell him, listen, you're going to be in the lineup every day. Let's see what happens. We know you're going to be a long-term major leaguer. You're the number 20 prospect in all of baseball. You're our top prospect. Just go out there and play baseball the way we know you can. We're going to bat you ninth every game. You don't have to think about it and make those other lineup changes that I talked about with regard to Bellinger and Dominguez, and maybe they can get more consistency out of their offense. But right now, watching DJ get rolled out there is just boring and bad. Peraza is not as boring, but it's bad. Watching Grisham go out there is annoying. Stanton is not what you want him to be either. And, Jazz is still too up and down. Rice and Goldie should be platooning. Wells should be your catcher. If Wells is not going to be your catcher long term, he's got to be dealt. If Wells is your catcher, Rice is the guy you deal. When we talk next time, we're going to have to talk about the bullpen because it's all burnt out. We're going to have to talk about the starting rotation, especially when we finally learn what's going on with Clark Schmidt, assuming the Yankees will tell us anything or if the Yankees can even get it right. But with right forearm soreness and discomfort, that's not a good sign. So that's it for now. Hopefully, Adam and I will be able to get to a show this holiday weekend. Happy July 4th. As you can see, I'm wearing my Yankee July 4th hat. Until next time, this is Yankees Coast to Coast and Michael Miller signing off. And Adam sends his regards from the wedding. Hopefully, he's not fall down drunk.